Guns. Alright, it says we're streaming live, so in a second I will assume that we are live. Ladies and good gentlemen of the YouTubes, welcome to the Hopcast. I am your host Adam Steele, and with me as always is my good co-host, Christian Taylor. That wasn't a buffering issue, that was me personally buffering. So, there's been a lot going on this week. Hopefully by the next time we do a Hopcast, I'll have a theme song and little intro video, but as of yet, the pieces are there, but I need to assemble them, and unfortunately I ran out of time today. So, yes, I don't know if you're drinking along at home, but I'm drinking Old School Brewery's Detention.
Black coffee, Kenko.
Yeah. I was at a drag to a Christmas fair type thing, and they had beer, so I got beer.
Hey, why not? I went to the Christmas markets on Saturday, actually. Yeah, the Manchester ones. Same old same. Toffee vodka was probably the standout.
Okay. Ugh.
Yeah, because it didn't taste like vodka at all, so it's just, you just throw it down, you don't even think twice.
Yeah, you do. Stream health, bit weird. Let's just check on... Seems fine. No frames dropped or anything. Yeah, I'm just checking that we're all good. Yeah, it wasn't a Christmas fair. It was overpriced tat, but these seem nice enough. So if you are of legal drinking age in your area, feel free to drink along with us. It is an evening stream in the UK after all, even though it's probably about breakfast time where you are if you're in the US.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot for us to talk about. We've not seen each other in a while because we've both been hella busy. And,
indeed.
yes, probably both with child busyness. I mean, definitely for me with the younger of the two. We're trying to get a sleep pattern, and hopefully she's going to bed now, but every now and again, suddenly it'll be midnight again, so we do what we can. But yes, Black Friday has happened, Cyber Monday happening as well, and for some places that's still going, so I wanted to talk briefly about what we both got and what we wanted to but couldn't afford, along with what we definitely didn't think was a good deal, because there were a few. Yeah, and then there's been some news this week as well. Gonna have a sponsor spot for the first time ever. Woo! And just generally chew the fat about anything music tech related, including a couple of hints as to companies coming out with new stuff, which I will allude to but not give too many secrets away. So, let's start with Black Friday, shall we? I'll see if I can... through Skype? Yeah, I can probably send you, Chris, the links to these so that you can look along with me. It's the kind of thing you're supposed to do before a stream, but we've been hella busy. So, let's look at number one. Behind door number one is the Slate Digital Black Friday sale, which is still technically going on till I think the end of today.
The whole problem with Black Friday now is that it's not a single day anymore, is it?
No, it's really
just not.
It's become bargain week before Christmas.
But even then, and then they go, oh, well, we got Cyber Monday deals. It's like,
and then they go, oh, we got Christmas deals. Yeah. It just goes and goes, but I mean, I have now learned, don't buy anything from like the middle of September until Black Friday. No. Not in the audio world, anyway.
Oh, God, no.
Because, I ended up, and I was just telling Chris, I made a video a while ago about the whole Slate ML2's fail video, which I ended up with an ML1, kind of in a part trade. But I got what I thought was a good deal on it at the time. Ended up in total paying now £600 and something for it, which... If you're in the US, think about it this way. What we pay in pounds, you pay in dollars, but then you add your sales tax or whatever it is, whereas we have that all included. That's why the Slate Black Friday deal on the ML1 microphone was $499 for you guys, which is an incredible deal, and it was £499 for us. Whereas we wouldn't then pay any extra. That is what you pay, where you guys, you've got your state sales tax, other taxes. which, of course, you guys taking your stride, you have done that forever, so you just kind of do it, right? Or there's the ML1 Vintage, which is the big fat one that looks like the U47. That was $699 or £699. And I have to say, having seen them now, they are very pretty. If you like that big, chunky, fat mic thing, they don't sound any different though. So it is very much.
Yeah, I was going to throw this out there. Is that the virtual mics at the end of the day, aren't they?
Yes.
So you're paying for aesthetic. You're not paying for hardware.
Well, between the two of them, yeah. I mean, the actual stuff inside of it, I would imagine, is decent quality, and in fact, now that I've used it for a good couple of months, I have to say that they are really good. The noise floor is practically non-existent, which impressed me a lot. I recorded an acoustic guitar with the ML1 a couple of days ago in the studio. I was in with a kid who hadn't recorded much guitar before, and traditionally with acoustic guitar, I'm guessing you've found this, that if you've got a quiet player, you crank your preamps up, you get a bit of...
it gets noisy, you end up, and then you can't, for certain songs, you can't smack it out, because that's just not what, if it's a finger playing song, you can't be pulling that heavily, so you need...
Yeah, this was a folky kind of song as well, with very little backing, but even though they're vintage tube mic emulations on this, the noise floor just wasn't there. It was really impressive. And I was just using an Audient ASP 800 mic pre, which is kind of their middle level mic pre, and there's just no noise. It was the sound of the tube mics without that you get with tube mics, because the designs are 50 years old. Well,
that kind of adds to the aesthetic on them, but so did you just record the body?
I had 3 mics on it, so I had the ML1 in the middle. 12 inches from the acoustic guitar, 12th fret, which is my usual kind of go-to. And then I had a pair of the SE Electronics SE5 mics, one way off on the body and one way off on the headstock. So they were kind of filling in the outside.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it was maybe a 50-50 blend in the end, really. It was, so it was most of the character, I would say, came from the ML1, and I was flipping around the mics on it a bit. And funny thing, I've not really liked the come on, brain. I've not really liked the U47 on it.
No.
I don't think I'm a big fan of the U47 sound, actually, as I've come to learn and realise. Because I have, all the stuff that I listen to, generally I find out that it's the Telefunken 251 or the Sony C800, which is that big mic with the big fat lump on the back, if you've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've seen the recent Periphery studio updates, have you seen those? Yeah, the little clips. Spencer was doing vocals on a C800. Which I knew instantly because it was a big black mic with a massive black mess of metal hanging out the back. They're a £10,000 microphone. They're serious. But they're the mic that Sony invented in the early 90s that basically became the sound of like modern hip-hop. It's got that super airy top end, but it's not nasty. It's just... Yeah, if you think of anything like early Mary J. Blige or that kind of stuff, it's a C800 with that really toppy kind of... Almost sounds like the mic's broken. It's that airy kind of thing. Yeah, it's that mic.
Oh, fair.
I think I either ended up settling on that mic for the acoustic, or it might have been one that was a Neumann 269, which is a bit of a weird one. The story behind the 269 is, the main Neumann mics went U47, U67, U87. The U67 was the one in the middle, and it was really quite a dark sounding tube mic. And so a load of them got modified at some point to have kind of a more normal tube in there. I think it's an EF806, but I can't remember. I think that's right. And it's got a nicer, clearer top end. It was designed for German radio, and for whatever reason, now people are finding them and going, oh my god, this is amazing. And so it's becoming the Neumann to go to for tube mics for a lot of people.
Yeah, but you found this out using an ML1.
Yes.
You didn't fork out, Joe, like you're saying, you don't like the U47, rather than buying a U47 and deciding I have to use this on at least X amount of recordings because I'm meant to like it.
Very right.
At least you found out for it. I know it's not going to be the same, and people will fucking flame me for that. It's not going to be the exact same. But at least you have that as kind of like a guideline of what it would sound like. And if you know now it's not your thing, that's fine. You don't need the real thing then.
You know what? You're not wrong, because in a small to medium-sized studio, if I was going to say, right, I've got a big chunk of money, let's buy a microphone, I probably would then use it on everything for a while. Yeah. And it might not be right for every source. It's one thing that I suppose I didn't think about with the ML1. I can just go click, 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 that mic. And then if I end up using one particular microphone model all the time, if I then end
at least then you kind of go, okay, maybe there's something here.
Yes. And if I end up then with a big chunk of money to invest in a tube mic, I might then go out and buy that one rather than another one that I would have bought because that's the one you get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really quite interesting. I got the Classic Tubes 3 as well, but I'm not the biggest fan of most of those Classic Tubes 3. Some of them, one's a ribbon mic, one's a really old, I don't know. Two of them are different versions of a U67 and a U47 that sound a bit different from the main models. And again, those aren't the mics that I really like, so... Yeah,
to be honest, I've never got on with ribbon mics.
No.
There's just, I don't know. There's just never been a time where I've gone, you know what I really need? A ribbon mic on this.
You know what? I might start using it on guitar cabs with that ribbon next to an SM57. Because ribbons for guitar, rhythm guitar especially, kind of work for me in combination with a brighter mic.
Yeah.
They just give things a kind of a 3D chunk.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you want, that 3D kind of feel to it, then you need to cover that high end. So I think that
from what I hear as well, the ML1 can handle quite a lot of level. So yeah. So that's one of the big things that they were doing as a deal. The Everything Bundle, if you didn't already have it, because I rely on it, if you sign up for a year, you get 2 months free. That's an absolute bargain.
But it's cheap as it is. I mean, getting an extra 2 months, you divide what you pay over a year in 10.
Yeah.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, $150 for the year at that rate. That's silly. Do you know Air EQ that AOS has made? Yes. Air EQ's now included in the Everything Bundle as of this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not played with it yet, but I saw that it was there and just need to play.
Yeah, I used it on a mix, and I'm not raving about it, but maybe that's because in my mind's eye, it is the utilitarian EQ. It's not like the character EQs, like the Neve EQs and SSLs. And I'm quite used to using a stock EQ for that kind of thing, although it's got the air and earth inbuilt, which are really nice. But then I use them in Virtual Mix Rack now. So...
Well, yeah, they're already there, so...
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad EQ, it's a really good one. But the features it has, I already kind of use. Yeah.
Well.
But yeah, the one thing I did buy is I ended up buying the Trigger 2, which is usually $150, and it was down to $50. And so I absolutely bit the hand off.
See, you can't knock that. I mean,
no.
For $50, there's a cracking sound, and it's just mod for the pile. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, we've got a question from the audience, which I think is very relevant to you, actually, Chris. Random question. Are entry-level DBX compressors worth the money for bass/vocals?
Okay.
This is very relevant to Chris.
I had a DBX 190, I believe. It was the gate compressor, dual gate compressor. I used to use it a lot in my bass tone. I was running a Pod X3, pretty much as an effects unit, and a distortion box, and then running the DBX into the Pod's insert using the gate and the compressor, and we found that it was actually pretty good. It wasn't amazing. You could probably get a lot better now, but if you get it at the right price, I think I paid £60 for it. maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And why not? The vocal channel one, again, it was okay. It wasn't gonna set the world on fire, but if it's something to play with, why not?
Mm.
But
yeah,
for the odds that it's DBX that they mentioned.
Yeah, of all the ones, that's why as soon as I saw it, I thought I'll throw this to you. For vocals, I probably wouldn't use one of the entry-level DBXs because of the noise floor on it. For bass, I think it's not an issue, but because for vocals, I tend to kind of lift the high end, that would bring out the noise floor.
If I remember correctly, the back of the vocal processor was actually a line. It wasn't XLR.
Right. Yeah. That's quite common.
I remember that, which I always thought was weird.
Well, more often than not, your outboard gear, you use a preamp that goes to line level first, then you've got all your other stuff, right? So that's what it probably would have been designed for. Or was it one of the ones that had a mic input preamp inbuilt?
It as I recall, this is a long time ago. I think it was it had a preamp inbuilt in it, but it was just weird. It was old. I remember it was quite old. But I never really used the vocal processor that much. It was mainly just the gate compressor I got was the main part of my gear, because I used to have different channels of distortion that would run into different compressors and different gates, and then would come back.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely kind of an insert path style.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely inserts. So just using two different sets of inserts to come in and out.
Right. Yeah. David Ross says, "Are you sure it wasn't a DBX 160? He's not finding a 190 online."
It might be the 160 then.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the original 160. I've seen Chris's rack compressor. It was more. It was a 160X or an S or something like that.
I think it was X or something. Or A.
Yeah, it was a one unit one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 1 unit.
It wasn't the older big fat thing with the VU meters. It was LEDs.
No, nothing that nice.
It was still pretty decent. If I remember rightly, we got a tone at one point by running the same bass tone through both channels. One is a really fast compressor and one is more of an opto style thing. That was really cool.
We were just experimenting with it at that time, because it had that dual compressor button in the middle where it would chain the two together, which was a really cool idea, actually.
Yeah, it worked really well for us. Okay, so let's move on from the Slate stuff. We've been talking about that for a while. Another one that was there was SonarWorks. I'm not sure if they're still doing the 40% off, but the reason I keep hammering SonarWorks is because I have a referral link, and anyone who clicks the link that I put in, I do get a bit of something from that. I'll be completely honest. I mean, hey, anything that helps the channel helps out. And if you were thinking about getting SonarWorks at any point, I still really recommend it. I'm using it right now, actually, even with these khaki Sony headphones, because my Sennheisers are over in the car, and I'm too lazy to go and get them. Apologies for the shouting baby in the background, by the way. She seems to be not settling very well.
That bedtime's not working out so far.
Yeah. On a bit of a tangent, I will talk about this. This is Voice Meter Banana. This is a program that I've started using because I did have a whole hardware setup, whole hardware mixer and gate and everything like we were talking about. And the reason that you may not have heard the baby in the background up till now is that this mic input has a compressor and an inbuilt gate that are just on sliders. You just turn them up. So when I stop talking, it's silencio, which is really useful. And also I'm recording this as a WAV file so that at the end of it, I can make the iTunes podcast version. So if you've not already seen this on the YouTubes, then yes, you can get this as a podcast format because it's quite a long show. I drive a lot, so I listen to a lot of podcasts on long drives, which is why I'm doing that. So yeah, if you're the kind of person who would rather do this kind of thing as a podcast, check out iTunes, look for the Hopcast. You will find us with the little pictures of us looking like those kind of Funko Pop type things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so SonarWorks is absolutely amazing, but I'll not dwell on that. You've not got SonarWorks yet, have you, Chris?
No, still on the pipeline. I still need to do it.
Yeah, so when you get around to it, I highly recommend it. And if you do get it online from them, I'll be giving you a nudge to use the referral link.
Yeah. I knew.
Yeah, so one that's one that's changed is Sound Toys. Soundtoys.com. Yeah. I'll stick this in so that I'll stick that in the chat as well.
Cool.
So that they can see it. Sound Toys. I love the Sound Toys stuff. They have 25% off their full Sound Toys bundle, which was 50% off for Black Friday, but if you missed it, you can still get 25%. And up to 65% off the plugins, which, if you only want one of their plugins, definitely do that, because, pro tip, if you buy a Sound Toys plugin and you end up with a login for their back end and you've got plugins, later on in the year, if you then want to upgrade to the full bundle, you get massive discounts because you already own some of their plugins. I didn't get a Black Friday sale on Sound Toys. What I did is I got some of the really cheap plugins when they were on sale. I had 4 or 5 of them, like the little altar boy and the little this and the little that.
I was actually thinking about these the other day before you mentioned it, and I'm sure it was these when we worked together a few years back. These guys did a 12 plugins of Christmas.
Yes.
Because I have the microshift and the little altar boy, and I still use little microshift on synths.
Right.
Actually.
I use the full microshift mostly on backing vocals, but also on stuff like that. Yeah. I find and sometimes guitar solos. If you want that whole like Van Halen type thing, it's really good for that, because it's not a chorus. It just kind of shifts everything a bit. Yeah,
no, I remember playing with it, and it's like it's doing something, but it's not. I'm not out of tune, and that was like one of my things with like granular synths and stuff like that. If something falls out quick, you soon notice. But it worked, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep playing with this.
Yeah, the way that microshift works is a lot like the way that the Boss Dimension pedals work. If you've seen them recently with the whole Wazzacraft, they've re-released them. The way that they all work is it's a pitch shifter, but on like the left side, for instance, it might be down just a few cents, and then on the right side it'll be up just a few cents. So it's not massively out, and it's just close enough that it's not like a chorus which constantly wobbles and wibbles. It just sits. So it makes your head think this thing's absolutely huge, and it just makes everything much wider sounding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really quite clever. So yeah, if you want Sound Toys stuff, get Sound Toys stuff. Yes. And anything else you noticed on Black Friday, Chris?
Okay. 2 things I'll throw out.
Go on.
And I think it's just because I seem to mention them every Hopcast. Fortin.
Oh,
we have a new plugin.
Oh, is that from Neural? Neural DSPs. Oh, yes, the NTS, the Natas.
Which is based on the Fortin Natas, which is the Randall Satan.
All the games.
Designed by Fortin.
Oh, right, yeah. So are they practically identical, but legal issues?
Kind of. So Mike Fortin worked with Randall and designed the original Satan.
Yes.
And then he's gone, when he went solo, he did another iteration. It's pretty much just like how you have the 6505 and the 5150. It's pretty much the same. There probably is little differences here and there, but the Fortin one's just a Natas, and now we have the NTS suite. I believe the Natas of the Satan was Ola Englund's.
Yeah, the Satan was Ola Englund. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his signature. So now we had the Nameless, which is the Meshuggah, and now we have the Satan.
The Nameless, so it was €69 instead of 99, and then there's the Dark Glass stuff, which if you like Dark Glass, should have got that.
See, I need to actually check something with that, because I got, they did an update for the Ultra not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
For version 1.2, I think it was.
Right.
And I had version 1, and they sent me version 1.2 trial.
Right.
With a new code. So I think I have another trial of the new version of Dark Glass.
Ah. Well, since then,
I've not tried it yet.
Well, they've done a 2.0 now,
right,
which is the one with the cab emulation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it was that.
1.2 had the presets in that people had.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
And so 2 has the cab emulation, right? So that's what I'm missing.
The other thing that's coming to both the 14 packs from Neural is the Zool Gate is definitely with the NTS, and I think it's either out or coming for the Nameless.
See, there's a nameless, not nameless. That's probably the wrong word in this game. There's an unknown distortion pedal in the NTS.
All right.
Now, people are trying to figure out what it is. If it's the grind or the Meshuggah, or potentially the Whitechapel signature distortion that he seems to be working on.
All right. Huh.
But no one knows. So there's a distortion pedal in there, but an overdrive pedal in there, and no one really knows what it's based on.
Right. Well, that's neuraldsp.com, so I'll drop that in chat. And what was the other thing that you thought?
The other brand I seem to mention all the time, Horizon, the Nano Attack.
Oh, yes. The Tube Screamer.
Oh, yeah. Which was released on Black Friday. I don't think they actually did a particular sale for it, but it was released on Black Friday. So that's why I'm just throwing that in the pile. Yes,
there was no special offer. The special offer was it exists, you can buy it now.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, if your company is doing that well that on Black Friday you can go, here's the thing with no discount, you're doing okay.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
If you know that you can drop that and that's still going to sell.
Yeah.
But people are looking to spend money on Black Friday, whether it's a sale or not, it seems.
So, there's, so it's basically a precision drive without the gate and with most of the controls on the inside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, that would probably be really cool. I don't know if I want to drop $150 on what's essentially a mini Tube Screamer, but
well,
I mean, if I had that money to throw around,
the longer short of it, it is.
Yeah. I mean, as a studio guy, I don't need it to be small.
No, exactly. You're not running out of room, and you're not using a giant pedal board or anything like that. Even then, the Horizon, the normal one, isn't that big.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I like the idea of having the pots internally so that once it's set, you just don't touch it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea because then it can't get kicked too much. Yeah, which is always useful. Yeah. All right, well, now that we've covered Black Friday, let's talk quickly about our very first sponsor spot, which is Zilla Cabinets. So the Hopcast today is brought to you by Zilla Cabs. I've been friends with the guys at Zilla for a very long time now, and they make some absolutely incredible guitar and bass cabinets. They're all handmade in England, and they don't mess around. They're all made with finger joints, which is where they kind of put the wood together, so it's never coming apart. Even if you drop it, it's not going to break. Everything's super thick. They pretty much use Celestion speakers exclusively. They are not super expensive either. They do loads of different colours, different grill finishes. If you've got a crazy idea, like you want a 6x12 cabinet or something crazy, they'll make it for you as well. And as putting my money where my mouth is, I have just ordered and paid for 2 new Zilla Cabs because the studio's already had the Big Blue that was belonged to Chris.
And did belong to.
Yeah, well, it first belonged to me, then Chris, and now my dad's ended up buying it.
Yeah.
I've also got a 4x12 standard by them. I've got a 2x12 Fat Boy and a 1x12 Fat Baby. So to add to the collection, I'll show you a photo here. This is my new vertical 4x12. I've got two photos of it, so you can see through the offset. So it's a bit thinner than a usual 412. It's significantly taller, and it's going to be an absolute monster. You can probably see on photo number 1 there. It's got handles in the back because it's so tall. It's got wheels in the back, so you can pull it back. And The reason that Paul from Zilla was making this in the first place is he made 2 of them as an experiment and decided whichever one he liked the most he would keep. And it so turned out that I liked the other one. So it's not a standard 4x12 either, it's a front loader.
Oh, okay.
So the back is completely sealed. The back doesn't come off at all. So you have to mount the speakers through the front. It's based on the idea of the old Zilla Cabs, you know, that a lot of the doom metal bands use. Where it's got a really tightness to the tone because the entire sides and back is one big sealed unit. There's no flap, no screws. It's a complete sealed unit. So I am going to put some absolute beasts of speakers in that.
I was going to say, what are you throwing in there this time?
Right, so my initial idea was to have 2 vintage 30 style speakers and 2 creamback style speakers.
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of what I've gone with, but as I've thought about it, I've changed it slightly based on the speaker collection that I have. So I've got 2 vintage 30-ish ones and 2 creamback-ish ones. One of them is actually a vintage 30.
Yep.
But the other one in that style is a Celestion Alnico Cream, which is the 90-watt beast that sounds like vintage 30, but with more chime, more sparkle, but still with that mid-grunt.
Yeah.
And for the cream backy style ones, I'm going with a red back, and which is a bit more low baritone. And I've also got a speaker called the G1235XC, which is it's a limited edition that they made, that Celestion made, and it's a lot like a greenback, a vintage greenback, but apparently it sounds like the old Pulsonic greenbacks, which are like the vintage ones to have, but it's got a higher sensitivity, which means it's as loud as the other speakers. And it handles 35 watts instead of 25, which means absolute minimum, doing the rough maths, that cab then becomes a 140 watt cab. Absolute minimum.
Wow, okay.
Because that's the lowest wattage of any of the speakers, which means I can mic up a really vintage-ish speaker, or the red back for the growl, and I've got the vintage 30 for the punch, and the Alnico Cream for the punch, plus top-end sparkle chime.
Yeah, okay.
So and they're all the same sensitivity as well. They're all 100 decibels in sensitivity, which means that one isn't going to get lost in the mix.
Yeah, see, I was going to ask you about that because, you know, you're throwing a lot of ingredients in the pot. I was going to see what was going to get lost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because originally I was going to put a greenback in there, because I've got a vintage, not a vintage, an older greenback, but they're less sensitive. They don't make as much noise. So that's why I eventually went with that 35XC thing, which I might try and do a separate video on that XC speaker, because it's a bit of a weird one. But it's whether I find time before it gets stuffed in this beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be an absolute monster. And they're all 8-ohm speakers, so when I wire it up, it's going to be an 8-ohm cab.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and the other cab is I've got a Zilla Fat Boy, but instead of a 2x12, it's a 1x15. Yes. It's not a bass Fat Boy. It's Celestion do a speaker called the Fullback, which is a 1x15 guitar speaker, 100 watt. And I reckon it's got a big, fat, thick, chunky kind of tone. So it's in the size of a Fat Boy, but just with the one big fat speaker running, I reckon it's going to be a real thick sounding monster.
So what did you see first? The idea that you could have a 115 by Zilla, or that you saw a 15-inch guitar speaker? You kind of went, well, I need to find somewhere for this.
Well, being quite honest, I found the 115 speaker first. I did. About a year ago, I saw it on Celestion's website, and I was like, what is this? But at the time, to get that made, I would have had to then justify a cabinet that I could only put one speaker in that I know of. I don't know any other 15-inch guitar speakers, and I'm a Celestion guy.
I couldn't name you any.
I'm pretty sure that Eminence makes some, but I mean, I'm almost dyed-in-the-wool Celestian guy at this point.
Yeah, no, we know that.
Although, interestingly, I did get a warehouse speaker. I've got one of their speakers that I'm going to do a video on, just shooting it out against something. I think it was a Reaper high power, which is, I think it's the most like a creamback. So I just want to shoot the two out and see what I get.
Yeah, definitely.
See if that's anything close. Not that I'm ever going to really change from being a Celestian guy, but it's going to be interesting to talk about that, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, yes, if you want a big fat 2x12 or a 4x12, because they also do a lot of shipping to America now for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you're in the US, go ahead and talk to Zilla, because they do a lot of these kind of things. You can actually see in the background here, this is some of Zilla's workshop. I mean, I've done full videos interviewing Paul from Zilla and done loads of cutaways of their factory. But they are a relatively small company where everything's handmade and they care really deeply about everything they do. In fact, in the background here, you can see on loop they've been making things, putting stuff in there. And yeah, Paul from Zilla is an absolute genius. So check them out.
Absolutely.
Right, let's move on to this week's news, shall we?
Yeah.
So here's one for you to start this off on a happy note. I don't know if you saw this, Chris.
Yeah, I saw this.
The Stairway to Heaven, which it wasn't just to record Stairway to Heaven. There was a lot of stuff. Bob Marley's Catch a Fire, Clapton's After Midnight.
No.
This is a Helios console.
Yeah.
I love Helios consoles, man. Of any vintage branded desk that I could have, I'd probably have a Helios. There's something about them that I just like. Neve are really, really, really good, of course. If someone gave me a vintage Neve desk, I wouldn't turn my nose up.
No, you're not saying no anytime soon, but you know.
Yeah. The Helios, if you really drive a channel on a Helios desk, they just sound gritty and nice and thick, and a lot of the distortion on Tool's vocals, for example, that's all Helios.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of stuff that Hendrix recorded with Eddie Kramer, that's Helios. Led Zeppelin 4, where any of it's a little bit crunchy, that's Helios. It's just got a sound when it's pushed that I like. And this desk is actually two desks put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so there was another article I saw. This is the one on Guitar World, where they took the Led Zeppelin 4 desk, which is this middle bit here, and they took another desk and they basically cut and shut them and stuck them together so that one's a sidecar desk going into the other one.
Yeah.
And yes, so if you want an absolutely ridiculous console, I think it's going for 130 grand or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the asking price of it when I last saw, but I'm not.
Yeah, that was probably the starting price on the auction. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, absolute beauty of a thing. There's some serious stuff going on here. There's all the talk back, which you can just do in software now, which but
yeah, it's not the point though, is it?
No, it's really not. But you probably end up spending 200 grand plus by the time you're done, because it'll have been in storage, it'll need looking after, it'll need someone to really completely recap the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't just some guy you find on Facebook kind of. Yeah, I can fix your desk. You're going for a Helios certified guy.
Well, I don't know if there are any left. That's the other thing.
Exactly. If they're still alive.
Yeah. And even then, if you can get someone to spend a year working on it, you've probably then got to hire them part-time for the rest of their lives to maintain it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's got inbuilt limiter compressors by the look of it for tons of channels, which in the 70s was kind of unheard of. Looks like the EQ sections are absolutely monstrous. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, I really would want one of these. SSLs are great mixing desks, but I've always thought that their preamps are a bit boring. It's hard to quantify, but SSL, because it's solid state logic, their whole thing in the 80s was that you'd never heard a desk so clean, right?
Yeah.
Because at the time, the whole like thick sound was out and super clean was in, but if you push an SSL desk, you get a nice crunch out of the line, out of the channels. But you don't really get a sweet distortion out of it, whereas a Neve desk, you can get a real nice thickness out of every channel. There are plenty of other brands out there, but Helios is probably the one that if I won the lottery, would go out of my way to find one. But the upkeep would be stupid.
Yeah, it's one thing. You'd have it just to say you've got it.
Yeah, really would.
To charge stupid amounts to record on one vocal on one track, because it's the only way that works.
Yeah. Funny because it's true. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting myself a vintage preamp or two at some point. My latest purchase this week was I just got myself a dedicated RME analog to digital converter and digital to analog, so 2-channel in, 2-channel out.
Okay.
That's all it does. And so it's really high quality conversion. So what I'm planning with the output is that's going to drive my monitors now. Because then it's separate from everything, so it's got the high quality conversion, so I get the best sound. Because I'm always thinking in the studio, what's the weak link?
Yeah.
And up till now,
natural. You got to find what's got to be the thing that's damaging the potential.
Yeah, or what can be improved and benefit me the most, yeah.
You thin out the weak. Just
up till now, it's been things like clean preamps with less noise, then good microphones, like the ML1 was probably the jewel in the crown for me for the moment. So then after that, I was like, right, I'm happy. What's next?
Yeah, exactly.
Conversion, because then with 2 channels of really good conversion, like I've got those vintage BBC preamps, so they're probably going to go into that for now. And then if I get anything that's a dedicated mic preamp, because those are actually high gain line preamps, which is a little different and a bit weird, then that's probably where they're going to go. Or if I get one of the Slate preamps, which is super duper clean, I've then got conversion, which is super duper clean, straight after it. So, leaving my options open there. So that was my next thought. But if I was to get something like a Helios desk like this, I'd have to really make sure that there were individual outs on every desk, which there must be, because they'll all go to the tape machine on separate channels. Yeah. Then I'd probably get something like a Burl Audio mothership for the conversion. Those things are not cheap.
No, they're not.
By the time you've loaded it out, you're probably talking 30 grand on one of them.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be using tape with this. Let's be honest. I've used tape, don't like it. I like the sound of it. I like the concept, the actual editing time and all that kind of stuff.
Maintenance.
Can just die in a fire. Absolutely no way that I could do that. But with something like the Burl Audio converters, which are like transformer-based converters, which you just don't hear about, that would justify having something that's got really good preamps and EQs and everything, and then just treat Pro Tools or whatever as a glorified tape machine, which is what a lot of the pros, big name pros, do. I mean, the only place I've ever actually seen a working, even on camera, let alone in person, a working Burl Audio system was Joey Sturgis' studio, and he's not exactly a vintage tape guy.
No.
But if he's got all the vintage preamps going into this Burl Audio thing, his most recent productions have been crisp.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I want to sound like Joey Sturgis and what he does. I respect what he does a lot, but it's not my thing. But the fact that he's getting that quality of sound is making me think, if I had many monies...
something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so, let's go from a bit of cheerful news to this week's less cheerful news, and then come hopefully out with something a bit funny at the end. In terms of articles, not in terms of this particular one. Let's be clear on this. So this is from the Evening Standard of the the Bring Me the Horizon show, where unfortunately someone seems to have died in the audience, in the pit, I believe.
Yeah, it seems a bit odd that basically he had as far as I know, he had a heart attack in the pit.
Yeah,
and they were trying to get him out, but it just wasn't fair.
Yeah, the report said it was a medical incident, so it's not like someone killed him in the pit. It was just an unfortunate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which I mean, that's got to be quite upsetting to a band, really. To find that someone's died at your show.
Yeah, it definitely puts a dampener on.
Yeah,
any high that they could be going on at the moment.
In some respects, they must be a bit relieved, I think, that it turns out that it wasn't the fault of somebody else, at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not their fault for inciting, let's go crazy at this point, and someone getting hurt in that moment.
Yeah.
This just seems to be, whilst they were there, something's happened.
Yeah.
It's just a bad environment for it to happen then.
Yeah, just a quote from this article. A spokesman said, "We would like to clarify that this was a tragic medical incident and unrelated to the extensive security measures in place at all of our events."
Yeah.
So yeah, they've said there's literally nothing they could have done. I mean, that sucks. But something that I've long thought about, big gigs, festivals, that kind of thing. When you hear news about, somebody's died at a festival, like Glastonbury's probably a good example. There's 150,000 people there over the space of a 6-day week or whatever it is. Statistically, that's the size of a large town. Somebody's not going home at the end of that because numbers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you talk those kind of numbers, and then you talk numbers like Rock and Ring, Wacken, stupid numbers. It's this you can't cover all eventualities.
Yeah,
you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know 150,000 people's medical background and stuff like that. You just don't.
Well, with that number of people, statistically, someone could be perfectly healthy and drop. And it could just be one of those odd things. Yeah, so, I mean, this must really suck for the band, but hopefully they can get their chins up and carry on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, let's move on from one piece of sad news to another. And have you heard that Gary Holt is not carrying on with this tour for Slayer?
Yes. It's something to do with his dad?
Yeah, his dad is...
Or father-in-law? I can't remember which one it is.
He says in his thing, my
his
dad.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know whether it is dad, stepfather, whatever, but he just said my dad. Apparently his dad hasn't been doing well for a long time and is pretty much, in his final moments, as Gary Holt says. Wow. So he's got Phil Demmel, formerly of Machine Head.
He's just finished the Machine Head tour.
Yes.
His farewell tour with Machine Head, and I think it's less than a week later, he's on the road with Slayer.
Yeah.
He's finished 15 years, I think they said he was in Machine Head for.
Yeah.
And, props to him to stepping up and, doing it.
Something that's a bit of a clue here to me, a bit of a ding, 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 is that Gary Holt said this has been the hardest 10 days that he's done in a long time. And I'm thinking, why 10 days? Why that specific? And I reckon that he found out that his dad wasn't doing too well, spoke to Phil Demmel, and said, do you reckon you could do it when you finish this tour? Yeah,
when you finish Machine Head, do you reckon you could catch up and meet us and take over?
So I guess that Phil Demmel's been learning the tracks for the last week and a half or so. Yeah. And so now they've only made the announcement now because Gary's made the decision that he isn't staying on the tour. So,
Hey, props to Phil learning that many Slayer songs in a week.
I'll bet you he knows them all inside out anyway. He's a heavy metal guitarist. How can he not?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, a thrash heavy metal guitarist of a certain age that doesn't know
from the
Slayer
Bay
songs,
Area
that's not
as
happening.
well.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon he probably plays them in his sleep. Much like Gary when he stepped up to Slayer.
Yeah, from Jeff, so...
Yes. I reckon it's not going to be too different, really. Yeah, because they are all really cut from the same cloth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what Phil Demmel does after this stand-in, because...
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's no mention of any, like, new bands. He's not otherwise preoccupied other than with the Slayer gig now.
Well, he may well have been working on something and that's been put to the side for a little while.
Yeah.
Just to help out his friend Gary. I mean, he's now a free agent. I suppose as long as he's got enough money aside from his work with Machine Head, he's not exactly doing badly for money for a little while. So he can just do this. Yeah. So, yeah, good on Phil Demmel for stepping up and helping Slayer out for the rest of their tour.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And just to finish off the news for this week, one of my favourite bands, Dream Theater, they released a song for the new album, which had a cover called Distance Over Time.
Yeah, I've seen this. Okay.
Yeah, basically within the same week, somebody's put... on the New York Times magazine, a designer's put a robot hand with a skull in it. And it's not just a robot hand, it's practically flipping identical.
Yeah, the thing is, I've noticed with it, and maybe this is just me looking into it, like the Dream Theater was, there's quite a good contrast, it's quite thought out.
Yes. Yeah.
The New York Times one kind of looks a bit more thrown together very quickly.
Yeah. I think...
you know what I mean? It's, you can see the detail and everything in the Dream Fair, and then that one's literally just a skull with a hand in from Cinema 4D.
I think the Dream Theater one was done by Hugh Syme, who's one of the big prog rock cover artists. And yeah, so he puts a lot of time into his work, and always has. So Hugh Syme's done stuff for Rush and Dream Theater for years and years and years. And yeah, the New York Times, someone's just got a couple of clip art bits and just gone bish bash bosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. And whoever's put this tweet out, Freddie Jacobi, is actually it's an alternate user account that Dream Theater have. Because they're currently running an alternate reality game.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, basically just for people who like AR games and want to find little clues about the new album. I played it when it first came out for the first couple of hours, and then I got bored pretty quickly because it's not really my thing.
Well, better play.
Yeah, I mean, for those guys whose thing that is, they carried it on because you had to find these real subtle clues in like web addresses and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, after a while, I kind of lost the fuel for the fire. But meh. Yeah, so it's one of them things. I think that's our last article for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing. I'll just bring us onto this screen. Here, I wanted to give you an audio example. This will be the first time you've heard this, Chris. This was a band that were in our studio last week. Well, yeah, last week. This is Stereo Haze. They're all teenagers. And I just wanted to kind of show off a bit of what we've been working on for the podcast listeners, because they'll probably have up to this point been like, oh, who are you? What do you do? Yeah. And this song's, to me, really quite Van Halen-ish. But this used the virtual mix rack and everything. It's all acoustic drums. We used a Black Star amp for one of the main rhythms, but through a Zilla 412. We used a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe for the cleany sounds. Through a Zilla 112, we used... what did we use? We used my PV Windsor for the lead. through the Fat Boy, which had the Alnico Cream and the red back in it at the time.
Yep.
And the bass was a combination of a Mesa 5050 power amp, the 2 notes La bass, and I'd blended in the BOD plugin, the Sans amp plugin, with a few good EQ cuts to stop it getting nasty, because it's a rock song rather than a metal song. But yeah, blending them in, we came up with this. And this is the first time I've really got to use the ML1 mic in anger on somebody that's not me. So yeah, have a listen to this.
I got nothing.
Oh yeah, of course. I'll send you a link to the track so you can hear
okay,
it.
Cool.
That's a surprise. Take a look, don't be shy. Don't be afraid when the bike has a bite.
And that's it on our side. Did you get any of that, Chris?
Yeah, I got it on mine. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's like real straight ahead rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoyed working on that. So we did 5 tracks. A couple of them were more indie-ish. But yeah, that thickness on the vocal, that was that 269 that I was talking about. I think I used the U47 on the backing vocals because otherwise they stood out too much on the top end.
Okay.
Just made them nice and thick, and then I used microshift on the backing vocals to give them that big Van Halen-y thing. Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, cool. Right, so I think it's 9 o'clock. We've been running for an hour. It's about time for us to sign off.
Indeed.
So thank you everybody for watching. I've been Adam Steele.
I've been Chris.
And this has been the Hopcast for Hop Pole Studios. I just want to say at the end a quick thank you to everybody for us hitting 13,000 subscribers, which is bananas. And big thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon, because that really helps us to grow this channel. The more and more people we get doing that, the more and more we can do this as a full-time thing. So keep that in mind, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and good night.
Bye.